The Shōgun finale is here, and oh my lord Toranaga, where do we even begin? I'm TV Guide writer Kat Moon, and today we're going to break down Shōgun episode 10. So that of course means entering spoiler territory. If you have not watched the finale, go watch it now and come back to us after. We're going to work backwards and start with the conversation between Yabushige and Toranaga in the moments before Yabushige's death. But also, I'm so curious. Yabushige has been among many viewers' favorite characters since the very beginning, mine included. Despite him having boiled someone to death in the first episode, eek. How are you feeling about him now after his betrayal led to Lady Mariko's death? I'm still in denial, and looking at how he's turned mad this episode, clearly he is too. Anyways, Toranaga reveals a lot in this exchange to Yabushige. First of all, he says that Crimson Sky has already completed. What? I was expecting a full-on battle between the armies, but that of course didn't happen and clearly is what Toranaga has been avoiding all along. If you remember earlier in the episode, Toranaga received the secret message from Lady Ochiba. This is the moment he learned that thanks to Mariko's actions, Ochiba will not have the heir's army join Ishido, thereby ensuring the Council of Regents' division and Toranaga's victory. But Yabushige also has another major revelation, that becoming shogun could have been in Toranaga's heart all along. Toranaga does not respond directly, and Yabushige dies without knowing the answer. After watching the finale, I had to ask actor Hiroyuki Sanada himself, did Toranaga want to be shogun all along?
I don't want to say anything. But making the peaceful era was his dream, that's true. So if he need a title of shogun, maybe finally he reached, not wanted all the time, I think. That's some hint.
Womp, that didn't reveal too much. Thankfully, showrunners Justin Marks and Rachel Kondo offered a little more insight and referenced the book by James Clavell that FX's Shōgun adapts.
You know, in the book, the answer is a little clearer. The answer is yes, and he doesn't answer it until the 998th of 998 pages, when he finally says, and maybe I'll be shogun, and that's it. So I would say we would agree with that. I do think that that's the part of his secret heart that he reveals to Yabushige and Yabushige's final moments before death.
I think he wants to be shogun, but not in the way that his ancestors had claimed the shogunate, you know? Yeah. It's a more complex living thing for him. He wants to use, shall we say, the office of shogun as a means of manifesting this great vision that he has for his country, and it's a tool.
Can Justin and Rachel just adopt me so I can listen to them talk about Shōgun forever? Anyone else? Well, there's also another question I asked them. We know that Toranaga is a man of great foresight. So did he put himself in a position where he would be impeached by the council from the very beginning?
Toranaga would want you to ask this very question, but he would never want you to try to answer it.
If I were to sort of stand on the outside of Toranaga and look at the way he acts and thinks, there's a lot of this acknowledgement, and he says it to Yabushige in that scene that I don't control the wind, I only study it. Toranaga begins the story as a political prisoner at Osaka Castle, you know, facing impeachment in the way that he is. Whether he had agency over that is almost, in Toranaga's world, irrelevant to how he reacts to it. And I think that that's the part that is so interesting about him, because you can see other characters setting up or manufacturing these situations, like Yabushige manufacturing this encounter in the woods where he just so happens to find Blackthorne. What a coincidence. But of course he had arranged and engineered the whole thing. With Toranaga, I think his strings are a little longer and more invisible. And I think very often he'll toss things to the wind and see where they land and study it and then make his decision based on it. And so part of what we were trying to convey or evoke with him was, by the end, this feeling that we look at him like Yabushige looked at him, with just the awe of mastery. Where am I looking at, a man or a god? I can't quite tell, because who's to say what he does and doesn't control?
Oh, that was so good. We could just end this video right here, but we of course have another major character in the finale to talk about. That is our Anjin, John Blackthorne, who is mourning Lady Mariko along with the rest of us. Blackthorne also has a very important exchange with Toranaga, where he tries to kill himself as a sign of protest.
これ以上血はいらない。
Toranaga is killing villagers in Ajiro because of Blackthorne's burnt ship, and Blackthorne wants him to stop. Executive producer Michaela Clavell, who is also the daughter of Shōgun author James Clavell, talked to us about why Blackthorne's changing views on life and death, and particularly seppuku, are important.
It was very important to all of us that the act of seppuku was shown as it was in the time, authentically, not an act of anger, not depression, not all the Western values that we attach to suicide. The word suicide is nothing to do with seppuku. It's a wonderful way to show the path that Blackthorne has taken and succeeded at, because nothing is more black and white than being able to embrace a culture's perspective on life and death.
私自身村人を死なない。
And to portray seppuku as a point of honor, not a point of desperation, is a huge cultural difference in our societies. And Blackthorne came from medieval England, a place where I think your life expectancy was about 26 or 27 years old. Death was something that was considered to be avoided at all costs and was going to get you very early on. So to take from that perspective to the point where it is a point of honor, it is not a desperate act, it is an honorable act, is a pretty big leap. It's the final step that I think Blackthorne takes to show how far he has come in his journey in this story.
Whew, so much to digest here. Where Blackthorne lands at the end of the season is fascinating because while so much transformation happened within, his relationship with Toranaga in many ways has stayed the same, even if he screams otherwise.
I came here to use you. To use you!
Sure, we know this is clearly not the case, not the least because of the reveal that it was Toranaga who had Blackthorne's ship burned. I asked Cosmo Jarvis, by the end of the finale, how much does Blackthorne know that he's a pawn in Toranaga's agenda? And perhaps more importantly, is he okay with being a pawn for as long as he stays in Japan?
Well, I think he absolutely knows. I think that's sort of I think that's serves as the foundation for what before might have been a sort of flimsy, basic formulation of uncommitted respect for the man. But in that final moment where Toranaga makes it perfectly clear that he knew where this would end up, that Blackthorne sees something undeniable in Toranaga. Even though he's unsure about where it may lead him in the long term, I think he knows that he would be something resembling a chump if he were to deny himself seeing it through to the long term. And that's what I think. So it's not like a blind trust that emerges, but it's a kind of a astounded respect for the man. And I think he's the sort of person who would want to stick with that because of how unique of a man Toranaga is and the kingdom that he has built.
Well, at least Blackthorne sees it. As of now, Shōgun is planned as a limited series, but I of course cannot be the only person who's wishing for a second season to come. What are your thoughts on the finale? Were you also hoping for a full-on battle between Ishido and Toranaga, or were you satisfied with how Crimson Sky wrapped up? Do you think Toranaga wanted to be Shōgun all along, and if so, what kind of Shōgun? Leave your comments below and don't forget to like and subscribe.